to another Keelhauled podcast. I'm your host, CaptainLogun, and we've got a lot of Sea of Thieves news to cover today, so tie yourselves to the mast and hold fast. Ahoy there, pirates. I hope you had yourselves a good week and a good weekend. I know I did. This week, I have a very special guest, a recurring guest, and this time it is none other than Captain J of the Crow's Nest. We're going to be talking Sea of Thieves news, the update, some of our thoughts on the lore, all that and more in this week's episode of Keelhauled Podcast. How you doing, man? How's Sea of Thieves been treating you?
Sea of Thieves has been very kind to me. I've had my ups and downs with the game. Just trying to balance work and play. So sometimes I'm farther away than I want to be, but it's been good.
That's good. And so, have you gotten a chance to really dive into this update?
The most recent update with the community, with the Legends of the Seas, I've been kind of like living vicariously through other people and just kind of watching them like re-explore or just, find for the first time the commemorations of players in game. But the first one I had to start with was my own. I had to start with that. That's the one that I was like, I'm going to start with.
Has it been pretty cool to kind of see see other people kind of come across yours and stuff?
Yeah, it's been kind of crazy because like the original logo was always there. Like it had been sitting there for quite some time. And just to kind of like the little dialogue text, just to kind of give it life like that. And, even like name drop my own name. I was like, whoa. And people are like, oh my God, I know that so-and-so, blah, blah. It's been.
That's awesome. You're cutting off just a little bit at the end of your sentences. I know with New York, you generally have a lot of sound and stuff coming.
Oh, yes. There's a lot. So I'll be mindful of that.
Oh, no worries. How is the weather out there? Is it you guys dealing with a lot of snow and stuff?
It's actually kind of sunny today. It was kind of crappy last weekend. Last weekend was all like slushy rain, snow mix. So it's been better today.
Oh God, I used to hate that in Alaska. Sorry, weird detour, but I was just thinking about it and I was like, we actually had like really nice. It's like raining outside right now. I actually have really been loving the sound of the rain, just kind of hearing outside the window. But the more I was thinking
relaxing.
about it,
it's very relaxing.
Oh man, it's so good. It reminds me of back when like Sea of Thieves was really, really new and everyone was pretty kind of hesitant to really mess around with each other, and you could go on like to an island and just chill there for a long time without really getting messed with.
Right, you could just sit on an island and just kind of explore, or not just even explore, just kind of let the world go by around you.
Yeah. Like, oh gosh, who was it that had that mixer channel that was playing all the time? And it was like it was
playing all the time, and it was always just like an island, and it was just like a view, and you just saw stuff go by. It was so cool.
Oh man, it was so good. And it was an actual person with like on an island. Like you would see ships sail by from time to time, and they were just using like one of the macros to use an emote over and over, so it kept resetting that 15-minute time frame. But yeah, man, I kind of miss those days where
the simpler days.
Yeah. It wasn't all about making sure that you hit your commendations and you go pirates and you're dealing with all this stuff. It was like, we just kind of chilled for a while, and that was a good time.
Now there's like a rush to everything. It's like, all right, come on, let's go. Move.
Oh man, have you noticed the commendations, the sneaky time limited commendations they've been sticking into the updates now?
Sort of in the sense of like, I have mixed feelings about that. I mean, like I was saying before, like I have limited playtime. So when I see things like that, I'm just there like, all right, I get it, but oh man.
Yeah, it's kind of a bummer because I think it started last update when you had to go and get all the gifts and stuff turned in to get the extra doubloons for that commendation, and I was like, well, I got the other stuff taken care of. There's nothing really too major. I did all the voyages and stuff, and then they're like, oh, you got to turn in all the gifts to get these 2 time limited commendations, and I was like, oh, you got to be kidding me. And the same
I
thing with
know.
this one too. Like you gotta go and turn in a certain amount of stuff to the masked stranger over at Reaper's hideout, and if you
Yep.
don't, then say
Then
goodbye to
that's
those
it.
doubloons. So I don't know. I'm starting to think that maybe just because the amount of stuff that you can go out and like it's not too hard to get 50 doubloons anymore. It's not
Yeah,
like how it
it's
used to
not
be.
right. It's not difficult by any means to do it, but I don't know. I think I mean, like I'm at a toss up because it's like, all right, what are you really spending doubloons on? You know?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sitting on a horde of doubloons, and some people, drop them every update, and I
Hmm.
think that's cool. Some of the skins are worthwhile, and the other skins, you pass on them when you want to pass on them.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm just like I want something bigger. I want something bigger out of the doubloons.
Yeah, the whole doubloon thing has definitely felt like a weird shift in focus for currency in the game. Like it definitely
Yeah,
feels like we've kind of like everyone's got gold now, which is
everyone's got gold. Everyone has ancient coins now, for the most part. For the most part, and I don't want to say everyone because that is something that you can buy or acquire in game if you find the ancient skellies, which is not exactly easy to do either. And it's
I
not like
still
they're
haven't.
dropping thousands of the gold. I still
Yeah,
haven't seen a single
I
one.
haven't seen one either.
I
I'm
was gonna say
still
I
waiting.
see people. Yeah, I see people like drop screenshots and drop like little videos, like, "Oh, look what I found," and I'm just there like, "That's cool." I'm like, yeah, I guess, and that's what I mean. I'm like living vicariously. I'm like, "That's cool. That's cool." I
Yeah,
haven't seen that yet, but that's cool.
yeah, I've definitely I've been hoping that at some point I'll actually run into one of those guys. But yeah, it's interesting with having Reaper's chests. It's funny, like for a while I was really gunning towards just getting as many doubloons as I can, and now that I'm
Mm-hmm.
sitting around
Mm-hmm.
like 4K, I feel pretty comfortable with
Right,
what I've got.
just sitting on top of it. You just parked on top of it. You're like, "Yep, this is cool."
Yeah, yeah. So, but I will say the one thing that this update has going for it that I think is really funny is, and I don't know if this is intentional, but it is definitely the result. There, the loading screens, and the loading screens are basically like the tutorial for this update.
Yeah,
And
absolutely. It just kind of gives you a direction, like this is what you should be doing.
yeah,
With its little titles on the bottom.
yep. Yeah. So I think it's funny because if if any other game is similar to this one in a sense, I usually get up and like go to the bathroom or get a drink or something like while the game is like loading in. And by the
Oh,
time I get
you'd
back,
be absolutely lost. Yeah.
yeah, you don't really know what's going on. So I've been hearing and seeing stories of other people who are loving the fact that people are grabbing these Reapers chests, these gold chests, and taking them to outposts and not and not being able to turn them in because
Not
they
being able to turn them in and just sitting around like I'm just gonna drop this off. I don't know what to do with it. I'm leaving. And it's
yeah.
true because like sometimes you check your map and there's just like a Reaper's chest chilling at Ancient Spire Outpost, and you're like, what? And someone
Yeah.
just left it behind.
Yeah, because they either weren't looking or they didn't find out or they didn't read the patch notes and stuff. So you've got all these like people running around with these gold chests and trying to like they're getting chased and they're getting booked over to these
Mm-hmm.
outposts,
Mm-hmm.
and then they get killed, and then they're like, oh, I couldn't figure out where to turn it in. It's like, well,
Yeah, I
you
didn't
had
know
to
what to
go.
do. It's like you're at the wrong place. You're at the wrong
Yep.
place. That's
So do you think that Rare needs to do more to try and inform players outside of just those loading screens, or do you think that people just need to pay more attention? Like who's kind of at fault on that?
I think no, I think the game is totally fine. I think players do need to pay a little bit more attention. And like I understand how some people, want that pop up in game, but then I just think of other games in the past where it's just been clutter on the screen. You know what I mean? Where it's
Mm,
like pop up, pop up, pop up, and you just get so used to seeing pop ups pop up that you just go by and just close them all out, and then you kind of just skip the point anyway, just because it's distracting from the game. So I think their minimalist approach was really cool. I wish the maiden voyage was there at launch. I think that would have, helped out a lot of people with their gripes. Like, what do I do in the game? I have no idea what to do in this game.
Yeah.
And I think the maiden voyage helps that out. But even I don't know. Like I know like the maiden voyage is optional for people who have been playing, whereas people who are starting up for the first time, they get basically pushed into the maiden voyage, which is perfect. That's how it should have been.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they can do anything besides those little tutorials, if you will, at the loading screen. I don't know if they can do anything besides that without overcomplicating the core the core game. You know what I mean? Because the core game was very simple in its approach, and it was just you're in it and that's it. And I think the more
Yeah.
you kind of pop, the more you throw into the game once you're out of the maiden voyage, I think it just takes away from the intentional or from the original vision for the game.
So I was talking with a buddy of mine, a couple of them are devs, and they were kind of talking about some of their frustrations with the game, and I love when they tell me about their frustrations because they understand like how actual game development works. So for them to say like they could do this, I'm like, okay, well, they're looking at it from a developer perspective where it's like, okay, it can't take too much effort to try and do this, and this would actually solve it. So one of the things that they actually suggested, either they suggested it or I suggested it, I can't remember, but collectively we came to an agreement that if you grab a Reaper's chest, they could take the note that they use for like the cargo on where to deliver it and stick it on the Reaper's chest. So when you grab it, you could grab it or you could read the note. And if you read the note, it says take
It'll
to
kind of
Reaper's
point in
hideout.
the direction.
Yeah.
It'll kind
So
of
that
point you
way,
in the right direction. You see something like that. That's such a subtle touch, and it's not anything far fetched because it does already exist within the world with the Merchant Alliance. I think something like that would be perfect. I think something like that would just legitimately cut down on so many issues.
yeah. Yeah, I think that's one of those things where like you're already taking into account that people probably aren't going to read the loading screens, and because of that you want to give like that supplemental information, and if they don't talk to Duke because they may not care like what he has, or they may not think like, oh, I should check in with this dude every month, and they don't like
Right.
I don't actually know how many people talk to him in the sense that they do something other than just checking his shop. Like,
Right. I mean, I think a lot of his dialogue, a lot of his context from like what's going on. I mean, most recently, I mean, it's all types of strange with him. But I don't know if many people care. I think it just they click through and they just look for his inventory and they're like, I want this. I don't care for that. And goodbye. I'll see you next update. Like that.
yeah. So maybe the idea of feeding people content or like update news in a more emergent way with like a note on this, like if found, please deliver to Reaper's hideout, might help.
I think that could work. I think that could work. Yeah, I think it could.
Yeah. So, so Duke's back. He, that's kind of a weird scenario
back
now. Yeah.
And I don't know what's going on.
So Stitcher Jim's gone. The Masked Stranger is back. We're doing some cool stuff as far as like checking out Pirate Legend or not Pirate Legend, but Legends of the Sea stuff.
Legends of the Seas, yes.
Yeah, which I really love that. I think it's a great way to kind of bring attention to some really awesome people in the community. But to kind of jump back into where I was going with this is Reaper's Hideout. Remember how a while back, last time we talked, we were kind of talking about some of the things that we would love to see come to Sea of Thieves. And one of the things that we both agreed on was kind of like a safe space for people to be able to hang out, like a non-PvP zone that people could actually talk about.
Yep, I need my Tortuga.
And the idea of actually like building up a town, or at least building up a structure, and we're actually getting that. Like it kind of clicked the other day when I was thinking about it, and I was like, hey, you know what, Reaper's Hideout is a new fort that's getting built.
Yeah it'd be cool to see, like, 'cause I mean, you do have I don't want to say it's Well, I mean, it's big enough. It's big enough of a location, and they could always just build upon it and like swing it outwards with like overhangings over the ocean or whatever it might be.
That'd be
But
cool.
I think it's cool to see it. Yeah, I think it's cool to see it kind of grow because the Sea Dog Tavern in game is awesome, but it's just the exterior. It's just the facade of the building. When you think about it, I mean, you don't actually see the inside of the Sea Dog Tavern unless you load into the arena.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of takes away from what the Sea Dog Tavern could have been. You know what I mean? Like it's just like, oh, it's a cool spot, but it's essentially just something pretty to look at or sail on by. Like no one really stops there for any reason.
Yeah. There's really not a whole lot of reason to go there unless you're trying to actually build something using the facility as opposed to the facility itself being the draw. And
right. I mean, they have that little race, which is cool. I think they should do more of that throughout the world. At that location. That's cool. I haven't completed it. I tried doing it backwards for the fun of it, and that went horribly wrong. I don't recommend it.
Yeah, I tried doing the backwards route and realized that there was a front or a standard route, and when I did the standard way, I was like, oh man, I've been doing it hard the whole time.
Right. I was like, where does this start? Oh, that's what the bells are for. Never mind.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask, because I mean, if you look back at some of the original content that they put out in videos and stuff, they've showed like the old images and stuff. There was always that one that stuck out in my mind of Smuggler's Bay, and how Smuggler's Bay had like a fort on it. And
yeah,
I always thought, I was like, oh man, it would be so cool if they actually like built a fort on Smuggler's Bay that you could take and defend. And we're kind of getting like a new fort that's similar
in that right. We don't know the extent of it just yet, but the fact that it's clearly, like, if you look around the island, you can clearly see it has the makings of a fort. Like the foundation itself of a fort is visible. So to what extent is it going to be a fort? Is it going to be just an area for emergent PvP or its own? I have no idea what's going to happen there.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see what it's used for. And I think this is a much kind of cooler way of going about adding a fort than just like snapping your fingers. Yeah, having the Molten Fortress just pop up out of nowhere in the worst possible place.
Right, that's one that always comes to mind. True story, I still have not done Molten Sands Fortress in the live game. I just haven't.
I haven't either.
Only because first off, I was gonna say it's so far away. It's never active, and I'm like, if it is active, I just look at the map and I'm like, no, I'm like way over. I'm like way over on the shores of Plenty, and I'm just looking across. I'm like, I gotta sail all that. No, not happening.
You're like doing the math.
It sounds awful of me. But I just
calculations.
Like, no, right? I'm like, that's so much sailing. There's so many rocks in the way. No, I don't want to do that.
If you think about the time it would take to actually sail over there, if you didn't get hit by a kraken, a skeleton ship, a megalodon, or other pirates,
exactly. I'm just like, why would I do that? Why would I sail all the way over there just to? First off, I'm like solo slooping half the time, so just to sail over there and like come across a galleon who's just going to absolutely dunk on me, I'll be like, why would I do that? It's so far away.
Yeah. Not to mention like the surviving volcanoes and stuff. The one time that I did go over, or the one time I did try to actually go do that fort, I was in the Ancient Wilds, and I started sailing over. This was back before they moved the actual ships, the fleet encounters closer into the actual areas.
Oh yes.
So when they actually like it went up, and I started to sail out there. By the time I hit Devil's Roar and got like halfway from the edge of Devil's Roar to Molten Fortress, it despawned. So,
oh my god! Right, it's just so far. That's the thing. It's so physically, it's literally tucked away. It's just so tucked away. Yeah, and again, with everything else going on in that environment, it's just a whole. It's a whole bag of nope. Like that's it. You just look at it and you're like, no, absolutely not. And if you're, and again, if you're solo slooping, forget it. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I was thinking, because Reaper's hideout is building itself up into a fort, and at some point in time, it's either going to be a PvE fort or a PvP fort. Who knows what? It could just be a giant tall tale, for all I know.
Right. It could just be a giant tall tale, a giant. Well, I hope not. I mean, I feel like that would be so underwhelming. Hope not.
It probably.
Don't get me wrong. I love tall tales, but to just see it kind of grow into another tall tale.
What if it was a fort and the key unlocked a tall tale and you had to go down into this tavern, kind of, or not even a tavern, but just like a cave system, and the cave system led you down into a tall tale that you had to work out.
Ready? I'm gonna make it very despicable, and then you tie in time limited commendations to complete the fort.
Oh my god, I hate you.
And then people would lose their minds.
Why would you even suggest that?
You give it like a 2-week time frame in order to complete this, in order to get the commendations and like an exclusive skin and title, and people would freak out. I think the amount of PvP around that area would be insane. People would not work together at all. It would be horrible. You drop one key, like just one key only, and that's it. That's just me just like wanting to see the world burn. That's just me just being super evil.
Oh man, yeah, I could totally see that. It would be one of two ways: either it would be complete chaos, or it would be the most cooperative, like euphoric experience you've ever encountered in Sea of Thieves, better than anything that like the Hungering Deep ever created. Like just people would be coming together and like passing fruit and playing instruments above it, and there'd be like a small group of people fending off skeletons and stuff, and then there'd be a big group hug right in front of the door as you opened up the key, and you all just kind of walked hand in hand as you went down into the tall tale.
That'd be cool.
Or it would just be
there I am in the
bloodshed.
corner with the there I am in the corner with the stronghold barrel, just like I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it.
Who brought this? Who is this guy? Why did we replace?
Hey, why is that guy going for the barrel? Oh no, I'm just moving it. Don't worry.
Why did we replace Will with this new guy? Like he doesn't even know the plan. Yeah, I could definitely see that being an interesting event.
It's kind of like Fort of the Damned on steroids. It's kind of what it is.
Have you done a Fort of the Damned recently?
Recently, no. When it first came out, yes. I have. I actually tried to the other day. I tried to approach. There was a brigantine. I was in a sloop. I was in an alliance the other day with the galleon and whatnot.
Care Bear.
And I tried. Yeah, I tried to. Well, that wasn't my choice, but I knew I was. Excuse me. I knew I was outmatched. Like I was outgunned from.
Yeah.
So I joined up their alliance, and they were doing something. I was like, all right, cool. I could use the gold. Why not? I keep dropping my gold on like player clothing and tattoos and like that's what I spend my money on. Ship, like as far as ship cosmetics go, I don't touch those. I have my go-to ship cosmetics. But as far as player equipment, player outfits, player all that stuff, I drop all my money on that.
Mm-hmm.
So the other day I was approaching, and there was a brig there, and they were not happy about me getting even remotely close. Not even close. So I tried to get up close and be like, hey, let's join together. Like you guys are here. I'll help out. But no, they gave me a 21 gun salute, and I was like, all right, I'm out of here.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's just a wall of cannonballs just coming my way as I approached. And I was like, no. Quickly anchor turned out of there, and I was like,
yeah, there's so. And now, if you get too close and they're ready for it, and they have cursed cannonballs, it's could basically be end game right there. Like
and then you throw in the fire bombs into the mix. Forget it. It's over.
Oh, yeah.
Fire bombs have turned this game into chaos. When something goes wrong on the ship, it's just chaos. When something goes wrong,
yeah.
Like I love using them. I hate getting hit by them. If that makes sense.
It's so frustrating when you get like. Fire bombs. They're amazing, and I love them, but I hate them at the same time. And at one point, I'm just like, we need to leave at least like one hole in the ship just so that I can run downstairs and grab water and splash myself, because the fire bombs are getting ridiculous.
And the best part is sometimes when you're extinguishing the flames themselves, you're dropping tons of water on it, and it's just this tiny little pixel that just decides to stay ablaze, and you're like, why? Why are you still on? And then it'll just spread to the next thing. You're like, what is happening?
Yeah,
it's like how did you like set the whole ship like ablaze, like from this one tiny little pixel that was like, I refuse to go out.
Yeah. So we've there's been a lot of interesting stuff that's come to the game. One thing that I was talking about with my friends that I wanted to kind of get some more opinions on is they suggested that the best way to fix double gun is just to remove the ability to hold two guns. And I came back with the argument of solo slooping with gold skeletons on the top of Old Faithful Isle. You know, the classic worst case scenario why you would justify having double gun. And they pointed out, they're like, well, you got fire bombs now, you got fire grenades that you could wipe out metal skeletons with, and you've got gunpowder barrels you can still grab and stick on your ship and then take up there and stuff. And I was like, I have a hard time arguing now that we have so many other tools at our disposal to want to have double guns. Like, I feel like you could force people to have sword and one type of gun, and that would effectively kill the need to try and balance out a double gun scenario. And it would also tick off a lot of Call of Duty players, I'm sure.
Oh, absolutely, myself included. So I'm gonna play a little bit devil's advocate. Not really, but I would say the only way that you could essentially force somebody into doing sword and one other type of firearm would be if you had another option besides sword. I would say give us another type of melee weapon that we can choose. Like if you had like a boarding axe, for example, that the community's been talking about that for ages. It feels like if you had boarding axe that did one thing and sword that did something else, and then how you have different, I guess, scenarios for firearms, you could do something similar with close combat weapons. I think that would be cool.
Yeah. Now, what if they because I mean, we've talked about boarding axes in the past and all the possible iterations that they could make with them. What do you think of like a billy club kind of scenario where you get like
I'm totally for it.
Yeah. And so how do you feel about it is if they actually made it stun you? Like if you could actually swing your billy club and it actually kind of bonked you on the head and made you what if it, instead of stunning you, it just made you like woozy the way you are when you're drunk?
When you're drunk, I would be let me think. I would be totally okay with that. And I think, okay, so there's, again, I know I get a lot of flack for it online and stuff when I've said it, but I still wanted like roles in the game. You know what I mean? So I think by introducing something like that, where it adds like another layer of strategy to the game. But again, I can see it being abused. I could see it being abused. If like you roll up against 4 players and they're all carrying billy clubs and they're all just stunning you to death. And again, it does no, let's say it doesn't do any damage, but it just stuns. You just get stun locked. And to get stun locked in a game, if that's never happened to you in the past, it's frustrating.
Oh, totally. Yeah, I deal with it in other games and I absolutely hate it. And
exactly.
I'm constantly yelling and getting frustrated.
Right. To get stun locked in a video game, if you've played the game where you just get stun locked, it's just frustrating. You're just there and you're like ready to throw your keyboard. You're like, all right, that's it. What am I doing? What am I doing? I can't do anything.
Yeah, it's like
there's a part. Yeah, like it's just frustrating on another level. But there's a part of me that would love to see, like that layer of strategy and like some of the ideas that people have come up with for something like the boarding axe, like, the boarding axe can do this and the sword can do that. And then let's say you add in like the billy club, it could do, whatever it might be. You're just giving players tools. I mean, essentially, they're all about tools, not rules. Give us just, let us, I guess, kind of dictate the flow of the game with a lot of things. And, balance accordingly. I know right now, like the sword is going through, I guess
teenage years.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like the sword right now. I mean, as far as the sword play right now in the game, it's not fun for me, even in the slightest.
No, it feels terrible.
It's very clunky. There's this horrible, and I'm sure everyone who's played the game has seen it. There's this horrible pause. I don't know what it is when you switch over to sword and you try to sword dash, you try to do anything, just nothing happens, and you're like,
Oh yeah.
oh, okay. And you're just gonna sit there like, oh, like this doesn't, make the difference in, between living or dying in the game.
Yeah.
So it feels very clunky. And again, they have to fine tune it. I don't know. I was okay with it in the past. I don't know what happened.
I know.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know if I was just spamming it way too much. Like I don't like when when I've seen the things like and again, this is me speaking as content creator, Sea of Thieves partner. Like sometimes I just see certain changes. I'm like, these are awesome, and then sometimes I see other changes. I'm like, but why? I'm just like, I thought it was okay. I mean, I don't know. I don't know their I don't know their analytics. I don't know the telemetry on certain things. I have no idea what the behind the scenes looks like. As far as their data goes. But for me, certain things in the past felt okay. And to see it change, I'm just there like, why? Why though?
Yeah, it's true. Like we obviously we only get a small portion, and a lot of our experience is completely anecdotal. And wait.
No, I think you got it. Anecdotal. Yep.
Man, sorry. Anyone listening to this may not realize this, but it's 7:35 in the morning for me. I am not.
Yes.
Yeah, I haven't gotten to sleep yet.
Fumes.
I've got a couple of coffee, but that's about it. Shoot, I just forgot. So with we've recently, yeah. Anecdotally, a lot of people have stated a few things that I've heard, and not necessarily in relation to like weapons and stuff, but a lot of people have been talking about how, the seas have been dead. Like no one's been playing the game. They can't find any ships on any servers. And then other people are like, oh, I found plenty of ships and I stole a bunch of Athenas and stuff. So we, to kind of transition out of weapons, I feel like at some point we're going to see some new stuff come in, and I'm hoping that we'll get some of that fluid nature that we had with the sword back. I think that there's just a couple things that need to probably address, and that'll get cleared up. But to kind of get back to that anecdotal evidence that I wanted to touch on, we got a dev update this week from Joe talking about some bugs that came in, which was nice. That they fixed a couple big recognition bugs about being able to turn in Athena chests to the Mass Stranger stuff.
Even with the Reaper's chest, I think it was right. I think it was a Reaper chest too.
Yeah, those ones. Yeah, it's nice that they're kind of keeping an eye on that. But Joe talked about opt-out crossplay and how they were looking at the data for 24 hours of playing and how many people had decided to opt out.
Yep.
Yeah, and we're talking single digit numbers here. It's not it's one of those things where not many people.
It was right. It was sub 10%. I think it was.
It was like 7.9 or something.
Yeah. It was something. It was something tiny. And when you, I guess, again, I mean, to us, the number seems tiny. It's all relative to how many people are actually playing the game. So 7% could still be, tens of thousands of people. I mean, you have no idea given their overall tally. But I mean, I guess it's reassuring that it's only 7%. I don't know what 7%, I don't know what that number is of, I don't know what 7% of whatever, X.
Yeah.
Sounds like math class. But I guess it's reassuring.
The thing that I wanted to kind of address, and this is not to kind of dig on the numbers that they supplied or anyone that delivered the numbers, but this is something I would be interested to touch on again in 6 months when more people know about opt-out and we have 6 months worth of data to take a look at. Because looking at
the long term,
looking at 24 hours. And then, especially for a feature that was buried in patch notes and has like one small identifier at the top left corner after you log in that says you're sailing with all players.
Sailing with all players. Yep.
Yeah, and having that little bit of information, I don't think is enough to advertise outside of like if people aren't like, I don't read patch notes for every game I play, only maybe a couple. So
exactly, likewise.
I'm glad that the message that I got from the developer update is that they assumed most people would probably stick with crossplay, and that they it felt like it was a little more justified based on the analytics that they pulled for 24 hours. I want to revisit that in like 6 months down the line after everyone's kind of had an opportunity to find it naturally or find out about it, through someone else telling them about it, and then say like, okay, well, based on the concurrency of players over the last 6 months, this percentage of the player base has decided to opt out on a regular basis when they go sailing, and see like, okay, are Xbox players enjoying the option that they've been given to be able to opt out, or is this purely something that is just for a small niche group of Xbox players that want to have that fair play at heart? So
right. I mean, I think you're right, because right now we're going off the 7%. Right. We know it's I think it's 7.5 or whatever it was. We're going off 7.5%. But what was that? That was after 24 hours. What's that number today? What's that number next week? Is it going to grow? Is it going to fall? And I think you're right. You have to take a look at it over a 6 month period. I have not opted out. I play on PC pretty much all the time, just because it makes more sense for me. It's more comfortable for me. Even though I could probably get I guess a more consistent frame rate. I mean, my graphics card is old. It's a GTX 970, so it's kind of outdated. I mean, it still does work, and I could still play it on fairly high settings, maybe with like shadows turned down just by a notch or two. And I don't know. I think you have to see it in the long term. I think you're right, because I don't opt out. The only game that I have opted out for is in the past was Call of Duty, the most recent Call of Duty. Only because I think first person shooters are a totally different ballpark.
Well,
in terms of like mouse and keyboard versus controller.
I'm gonna push back on you about that, because when I do play, I know, right? When I have been playing Modern Warfare, I've been playing with crossplay, and it's like I still get owned.
Really?
Yeah, because I look at the list, and then the list is like a mix of different people, and I'm not paying attention to necessarily like whose name's attached to what console. But I can definitely say that I'm getting killed by people who are playing on controller just through the sheer design of how they've managed to get the aim assist with controllers.
Just their own settings, just how twitchy they are.
Yeah. So and obviously the game is helping them out to an extent. And if
with
you
a little bit of the aim assist,
yeah, if you could tweak that, like we had aim assist kind of tweaked when they did some of the more recent updates in Sea of Thieves with the harpoons to make it a little bit easier to harpoon like something. If they could just apply that to guns, then I feel like console players would kind of feel like they're getting closer to that disparaging or that disparity between mouse and keyboard and console players, because like for me, at the end of the day, I enjoy having the crossplay, not because I'm, quote unquote owning Xbox players. I fight all pirates. I don't ever think about like what they're playing on when I'm fighting them. I'm usually just trying to stay alive and get their stuff. But if Rare can actually learn something, or that makes me sound bad to say that they're learning something. But if they can,
no, I know what you're trying to say. Like I get it. It's not a derogatory comment. It's just if they could take something away from it, it's whatever.
Yeah, it's like if they could pull something from what Modern Warfare is doing to keep the balance with crossplay for their strictly first-person shooter game, and adapt that to Sea of Thieves to try and improve the play, then I kind of hope that would be something that would entice people who are tired of fighting against PC players on console. A chance or a reason to kind of join back into the crossplay, because at the end of the day, the reason I want crossplay is to try and make sure that people aren't locked out of playing with others because of the situation that they're in. Like I don't have an Xbox. I'm probably going to pick up the next console when it comes out so I can put it in the living room, play casually. But at the end of the day, I've always been like more of a PC gamer because of Blizzard and stuff. So that's just kind of where I landed with this game. So It's one of those things. Like I appreciate that Rare wanted to come out and kind of share that information about it, but it didn't feel like it was a valid enough information for us to really like assess like how valuable is crossplay right now, because I still think that.
Right. I mean, because I think the numbers are going to change. I think you're right. I think the numbers are going to change as time goes.
So, going into the dev update, we're kind of in a weird situation right now, and I wanted to kind of bring you on, not only as a friend and a fellow pirate, and a lorehound,
as a critic.
but as a critic, how do you feel about Rare changing their desires to release dev updates on a weekly basis? How do you deal with that?
I think
I'll let you decide how much you want to get into it, but
right, because I have strong opinions about this, and not in a negative sense. I'm just saying I have strong opinions. I think it is the right move, because sometimes the dev updates on a weekly basis, some weeks were much more packed with information than others. So I think by chopping it down, it allows each episode to be, I guess, that much more impactful, like that much more full of information, by cutting it down rather than doing it on a weekly basis. I think. Sorry, I'm losing my voice. I think that I was gonna say I have to pause every now and then and be like, this is the moment you breathe. I think that they correctly like identified that, the game's been out for a while. The game's been out. It's going to be coming up on 2 years now.
2 years now. It's crazy.
And I think it's smart for them to kind of cut back the information, or like the drip of information, because most people are playing your game at that point. It's not like it's not like we're running up to release date where it's just tons of interviews, tons of like news articles, tons of stuff coming out. That's like that's when you saw like a peak of information, and of course you have like the peak of information every time there's a new update, like a big update like Hungering Deep, Curse Sale, something like that. But like these smaller, like week to week in between those really really big updates, I think they should take the time off to to make each episode, each weekly update or bi-weekly update, whatever it is now. I think they should take the time to I guess make each episode more meaningful. Because sometimes there's a little bit of overlap in information, or it's just a little slow.
Yeah. So it's interesting because I've been going back and I've been listening to all of the Rare Sea of Thieves Tavern Talk podcast episodes.
And we haven't had that in months.
Yeah, it's actually been over a year now since the last one came out. The last one that came out was December of 2018. So one of the things that I noticed about that was they were doing 2 videos like a week, and one of them was like just kind of an update around the studio, and then another one was like a dive into stuff that's going on around the studio. So one of the things that I think Joe mentioned in the dev update when they were talking about like this new schedule cadence for the videos is kind of getting back to that old feeling of like when we used to get to talk to different groups in Rare about stuff that they're actually working on, and kind of getting some of those behind the scenes videos that I miss so much when they kind of go in and talk to like the special effects artists about how they made Devil's Roar look and feel so cool with all the volcanic ash and all that good stuff. But with this change, how are you as a YouTube or a Mixer streamer and a YouTube content creator? How do you feel like you're going to adapt back to a time when you used to only have like Captain Bones on Twitter, the forums,
the dark ages? Yeah.
It really, the time before
it was like a single screenshot, and it was like, all right, make a video off this. I remember those.
So
I think it's going to be tricky. I think for my own channel, I think I'll probably, and this is news, breaking news. This is probably what I'll be doing as well. I'll probably be switching on to a bi-weekly video format for TCN, only because like the peak for TCN, the peak for Sea of Thieves news, the peak for everything for me. And again, I can only speak to me. I can't speak to other channels. But the peak for me was running up to the game, immediately after the game, and then those big releases. Like that's when I see peak traffic, and you see it on Reddit, you see it on Twitter. That's when you have the most buzz about stuff.
definitely.
And I think I'm gonna have to like switch over to that bi-weekly cadence. Maybe the in between weeks, do more of the streaming. Just to still be part of it. But as far as like putting out like an actual video, and for those people who have no idea, like how much time goes into a video, like you could spend hours and legitimately hours on a 2-minute video or a 3-minute video, and it just kind of grows exponentially.
Yeah, that's one of the that's one of the main reasons why I just have not taken that plunge into YouTube. One because I've the more ads they stick in YouTube videos, the more I hate myself for just mindlessly letting them play. And before I know it, I've been watching like 2 ads for the last 10 minutes, and I'm like, wait, what? I was watching a video. Where's the skip ad?
Yeah, exactly. And it's one of those things that I think I'm gonna have to look. I think for TCN, I'll probably jump to a bi-weekly schedule, and then just like the dev updates will be that much more meaningful. I think I want to do something similar where I have more time to spend on a video. Probably make them a little bit more chapter based, because in my mind TCN has always been like a TV show kind of thing. In my mind, like the way I kind of present it, the way I kind of close it out, the little breaks in between with like the little, the logo pops up and then it just jumps to something else. It's always been very television like a TV show format, if you will. It's always been like that. And I think I'm going to do more of that on a grander scale, but with timestamps. Like in my mind, I'm like, all right, maybe I'll spend, this much time talking about this. If they don't care for that, then they could jump over to this. And I would let it be known within the video too. They have clickable timestamps and they can jump around that way. And that'll just allow me more time to just spend on that video, because there's a part of me that, I don't want to say it's YouTube burnout, because that is a real thing. And YouTubers of all sizes kind of come across that. But I don't want to make a video just because I have to make a video on a weekly basis. When the last update that's been out, it's been out for some time. How much more can you actually pull apart from that? Unless you purposely cut up the information and you just spread it out over, 3 or 4 videos to last you the whole month. You could do that. But me personally, I don't want to do that. I don't want to take, a whole update and be like, all right, I'm going to dedicate one video to this, dedicate another video to this aspect. Like for me, it's just much more like, let's dive into it. Let's see what's going on. This is it. This is the big stuff. And that's it. And if each update is going to get, smaller and smaller on the dev side, in terms of like the weekly dev updates with like the information that's being trickled out, it kind of pushes, at least in my opinion, it kind of pushes me into a certain corner. It's like, all right, well, you don't want to make clickbaity stuff. You don't want to rehash old stuff, like, I don't know. Like there's a part of me that just says, is the channel dying? No, it's still at a very healthy number. And, every YouTuber loses subscribers and game subscribers. And it's just you kind of just float around these numbers for a while. And it's not until you see something big do you have a big push. And then of course you'll release a video and people are like, oh, I'm still subscribed to you, and they'll like unsubscribe. They're like, oh God. So it's just it's just like, oh man, why do you still do this stuff? I'm like, because I do. That's why. I'm like, because I do. Too bad.
There's I love the community that we have, because it's definitely been something where like with this game and going into monthly updates, we always have something to kind of like latch on to every month. And with Rare doing what they're doing, they're constantly releasing new stuff that's kind of adding a little bit more to the overarching story.
Yes.
one of the things that I was talking with a couple friends and I got a couple comments on and then had some discussions on Twitter about, and this will kind of, I want to kind of round out the episode with this, but we have had a lot of people saying that there are still things that they're desiring for Rare to kind of put out there into the Sea of Thieves universe for us to have, things like captaincy, things like shifting, being able to change out ships in session, having pets finally came, having different pets, things like that. And I wanted to kind of see, like, how do you feel with the shift that we've gone from having big updates to monthly updates? Do you think that the monthly updates are a positive influence, or did you like it better back when we had like the big updates and you know, they could address like a lot of different things that the community wanted, as well as their own stuff in like a big Shrouded Spoils or a big Cursed Sails or Devil's Roar? Or do you kind of like this where we're getting smaller updates with more stuff to accomplish each month, and then each month we're just getting like a little trickle of information and build up to the overarching Flameheart story that we're in right now?
Oh man, this is a good one. If I had to be honest, nothing generated hype, nothing generated excitement like the big updates, like the big monthly updates. Like, or not monthly, is it? Yeah, I get, well, the big
It was like
the big campaign,
the big ones.
Yeah, like that for me was peak Sea of Thieves updates. And I understand that takes a lot of work on the devs part. And, you know, in between each of those updates, it was kind of, you know, quiet for the most part. And you had a couple of teases, and I kind of appreciated that because it was more of like what you're saying with the community. It was more like drive to try to uncover and, you know, like little teases here and there as to what was coming on. That was cool. As far as the smaller updates right now on, you know, these smaller scale updates with the commendations and stuff like that, I don't know. I think they're adding. I think like the things that you see at, for example, like Reaper's Hideout, I think that's really cool. But I personally, I prefer the bigger updates. Personally, I prefer the bigger updates. There's more hype. There's more stuff to cover from a creator standpoint. The smaller updates, it just, you know, it's one of those things that I fear, and I don't think they're there yet, but that I fear that, you know, after a while, it's just more of the same, you know. And I've seen that, and the only reason I say that is because I've seen it with other games, right? So I fear that for Sea of Thieves in the long term, where in between these really, really big patches or whatever it might be, you just kind of have like these little things, little additions, and after a while, it just kind of gets lost in the sauce, if you will. You know, it's just another thing. It's just another thing, and like people are like, yeah, whatever. I'm just waiting for the next big thing. So it kind of gets overlooked. So that's the one thing I fear for the game, where I think these smaller updates are really good. And it does give players like an incentive to play. It does give players an incentive to jump in and do stuff. And I think that's awesome. Right. But I don't know. I prefer those big updates, those big campaigns. There's a part of me that wishes they would go back to that.
Yeah. And I wanted to kind of bring that up because we've been in the thick of it from the beginning, and we remember what it was like to have like the Twitter header image pop up, and
right.
It was just like
and that was your tease.
Yeah, it was a small pirate, and he was just kind of like, you know, there was this foreboding giant shadow of a megalodon underneath him, and we were all trying to figure out like what the megalodon would look like and stuff. Then we got like the double eye image and stuff, and those were truly epic. But at the rate of content that we're getting, we're starting to see like a little bit of it, where, you know, like the Sea of Thieves website will start to have like ash or
like embers like floating about. Yeah,
little things like that kind of pop up. And I wonder, like, because we had like the big updates, we always knew like, okay, big stuff is going to hit then. Now it was like, oh gosh, was it? I want to say it was November. We got the newest Tall Tale, not including like Maiden's Voyage and stuff, but we got the Seabound Soul. And the Seabound Soul was the first time we had the title screen change since the anniversary update. And it was like that. It was like that was cool. It was a smaller Tall Tale, and it wasn't as interactive as say like the Trickster or the
Art of the Trickster.
Art of the Trickster. Thank you. It wasn't something as intricate as like that, where you had to kind of use like a special spyglass to find the spots and then dig up the bomb and then take the bomb to a totally different island. It was just kind of, follow around the story. And when you get to the end, you get this really epic cinematic style in-game event where you release the soul of Flameheart. And it was one of those things where I was sitting there thinking, I was like, this was really cool that it happened. It was really awesome to get it, but I didn't feel like that sense of hype that always preceded a big update when you knew it was coming, because you knew that they had like teased out like, we've got something
little by little.
Yeah. The Forsaken Shores was always like, well, what could the Forsaken Shores mean? I was like, I don't know. We'll figure it out when we get closer. And then it was like, what? Volcanoes?
Right, so, that was big, and yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. I miss those days. I do miss those days. And the reveal at like E3 and stuff like that. And I understand that, like, even from a company perspective, Microsoft does give priority to their first party platforms, which is Rare and which is Sea of Thieves. But I don't know. I think the company has become a little bit more secretive with what they're doing right now. In terms of updates and stuff like that. Whereas in the past, it was a lot more open, and that was awesome. I think they're still open, but not as open. And I think you see that with the cutback, excuse me, and the cutback in like the videos, with the podcasts, with just stuff. And I know that Rare is working on Everwild. I believe that's the name of their other game. So I wonder like how much of the studio has shifted focus to the next big thing. Like how many people are still working on Sea of Thieves? And I'm sure it's still a ton of people, don't get me wrong. Because Rare employs, Rare employs still a great amount of people. But like, I wonder legitimately, like how many, all hands on deck, for lack of a better term, are still on Sea of Thieves. And I wonder if that's why we've seen I don't want to say lack, because it sounds like such a negative thing, but I'm wondering if that's why we've seen less, because it's like they're quietly working on stuff.
Yeah. So, like, last question before we close out the this week's episode. Captaincy, what is it, and should we still get it? What is Captaincy to you?
Captaincy to me, has to do with ship ownership. As far as, we've gone about a year and a half or more. Actually, we're coming up on March, so we're approaching the 2-year mark. You'll probably, if I could make predictions for Anniversary 2, I think Captaincy, something for Pirate Legends. I have no idea. This is me just rambling in my mind, aloud at this point. But Captaincy for me has to do with ship ownership. But the thing is, we've grown so accustomed to having no owners that I don't know if it would still make sense at this point in time. I think that there should be some kind of ship naming element. I think that there should be some kind of, you've seen like those people do little mock-ups of like screenshots where someone's looking through a spyglass and you can see people's ships from a distance and the name and stuff like that. But that could lead to problems too with like, like griefing, like basically just following people around. Like I get it. But at this point, I don't know if Captaincy, because I don't know the extent of what Captaincy could be. I mean, there might be something big that we're just overlooking, like some really cool thing that you could do with it. But I don't know if Captaincy is really what the game needs at this moment. Do I think it would be cool? Yeah, but we've grown so accustomed to not even touching it that, it's like if you add in something like, well, ownership now, crews have been playing, I guess, cooperatively for so long. It's like, do you really need an owner at this point in time? Again, unless Captaincy brings something else to the element apart from just this is the person's ship and they have say over, I don't know, naming it or cosmetics for the ship. Like I have no idea what else like the ship could, or rather the update of Captaincy could be. I mean, does that do anything? Because again, there's no roles in the game, and I think that's what limits it. I think there's no roles in the game. I don't know what assigning somebody a captain would actually do.
Yeah, and I'm pretty much aligned with what you're talking about. I've always kind of thought that captaincy was a cool prospect when it felt more like there was going to be an importance to having the way your ship looked. And if it's one thing that I've realized with the way that Sea of Thieves has gone over the last year, almost 2 years now, is your ship looks however you want it, and there's almost no way to say like this ship is for someone who loves this, and this ship is for someone like back in the day we did have like Order of Souls and Gold Hoarder and Merchant Alliance, and those were tied to reputation, similar to the way that the Hunter's Call is and Sea Dogs is. But there's so many other better looking liveries out available that most people probably don't even bother with, equipping the full Order of Souls liveries anymore, and they're the original ones. So compared to the new stuff that's all glowy and has all the emissives that you want and on it, it doesn't feel like they really kind of have any prowess on the seas. Like, you don't look at Order of Souls and you think, man, that guy's awesome. You're just like, oh, he's got one of the old original ones, and he's just kind of hopping back on it for whatever reason.
Right, I was actually doing that too. I was actually running, I believe it was the Rogue Sea Dog set for a little while, just to kind of switch it up, and it was kind of cool. I like the color scheme. Granted, I was mixing and matching a little bit, but it's just another cosmetic, that kind of just got lost in the sauce. And I keep saying that, but it's just another cosmetic that kind of got lost in there because we do have so many, and again, people are going to be attracted towards those shiny things, the glowy things. I mean, you see it in like a lot of games, MMOs. You see it in you virtually see it in every game. Let's be honest. Like, when people see shiny stuff, they're like, "Ooh, shiny," and that's what they want. Some people love it, some people hate it. For better or for worse. I just don't know. I just don't know what captaincy at this point in time could bring to the game. And again, I'm probably, we're probably sitting here, and there's probably some really cool, like, overarching thing for captaincy, but I'm just missing it right now. I think what's that?
Oh, I think you're absolutely right. If someone has like the best idea for captaincy, I haven't seen it. And that's not for a lack of trying, because I generally visit a lot of the places that most people share stuff, and I've seen really cool content out there, whether it's 2D or 3D printed or like anything that you could possibly imagine. But I have yet to see anyone really latch on to what captaincy could be that Rare hasn't said it could be, and presented like a good case for why it should be put into the development line, why that should be something that's being worked on right now. And when all's said and done, I think I would much rather have them go and just release all of the additional cosmetics for all of the different liveries, as far as like the wheel, capstan, cannons. I would love for them to flesh out the rest of the Pirate Legend equipment, as well as like weapons and the Athena equipment and the Athena weapons, and just kind of like really kind of round out the rest of the cosmetics, as opposed to just giving us the recolors that we have been getting.
Right. I think and that's exactly true. I think their efforts could be better focused on something else, which they're probably doing, to be honest. But I think their efforts could be better focused on something else, rather than just, oh, this person's captain. In my mind, I'm like, do you just put a little star next to their name? Do they just name the ship?
Yeah,
that's it. Like, I think they could be doing a lot more for the future of the game, and for current elements in the game, current systems in the game. They could be overhauled. They could be revamped in some way, shape, or form. I think they're, and I think they know that too. I think they know, just naming a ship, again, unless there's something else that, like you said, we're just totally oblivious to right now. I think something like captaincy is is on their list of things to do, but I don't know if it deserves priority right now, if that makes sense. I don't know if that's
Totally.
the end all be all. I don't know if that's like, oh, we need to do this as opposed to that.
I can imagine the dev update video, like just having Joe sit down in front of the table and see, we're like, well, we really thought we were going to be able to get Flameheart out in time for the 2nd anniversary, but due to a vocal group on Reddit, they really wanted Captainsy, so we had to push out Flameheart another 3 months. People would probably lose their
abandoned ship,
minds,
legitimately abandoned ship. Yeah.
But
I think that'd be in the game.
There'd be a mass exodus.
Which is scary, but that's how it works.
Probably not. Hopefully not to that extent. Hopefully most people would probably stick out with it. I'm sure
the originals, the core community would still be around.
For sure. Well, that's going to do it for this episode. Jay, thank you so much for coming on. If you guys
thank you for having me.
Oh man, I know I've been begging you for a month now. I think it was like the 100th episode.
I think it has been. I've just been so busy. I've been so sick, and even now I'm just like here push the talk, and I'm just like coughing off mic. I'm just like hacking up lungs over here.
Well, I've
just been so.
Yeah, I want you to feel better. I want you to be good. But your opinion is worth so much to me that I really appreciate you taking some time to kind of sit down.
Always, with me. I'm always down to talk. And it's cool because I don't always get to do these things like in my own YouTube videos. I mean, like I said, my own YouTube videos are like highlights of this or speculation or that. I don't really have time to just kind of talk. I don't really have time to just ramble about things and engage on a one-to-one basis like this. So I always love coming on and just rambling about things that might otherwise not fit on TCN.
Yeah, well, you're always welcome, and I definitely expect to have you back on anytime that you want, or anytime I can bug you and give you enough heads up where we can schedule it out and stuff.
Absolutely, call me back for March's update, so I can sit there and be like, they didn't throw in Captainsy, how dare they?
For sure, definitely, we'll have to get together and kind of talk about all the things that we're excited for and hoping that they put in. And I think that's going to do it. If you enjoyed the show, and I really hope that you did, please feel free to head over to the show notes. I'm going to have all the links to find Captain J from the Crow's Nest in the show notes, as well as all of the contact information for myself as well. And next week, we're going to be kind of doing some more diving into Sea of Thieves and seeing what's going on with the community. I know recently there's been some really awesome competitions going on, like Race of the Legends and Sea of Champions and stuff. So we'll see what comes up during this week and if we get any interesting videos from Rare. And we're starting to get closer to what the next update's going to be, and we're going to find out what is going to be following the Legends of the Sea as we get closer and closer to that next anniversary update. Pirates, thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. And with that, thank you. I love you, and I look forward to sailing with you on the Sea of Thieves.